sources tonight: Jamil Jaffer, founder of the National Security Institute at George Mason University, former senior counsel to the House Intelligence Committee, and Sabrina Singh, former deputy Pentagon press secretary and now a CNN contributor. Good to have you both here. Sabrina, would Israel strike Iran over U.S. objections? And we should be clear, President Trump has sometimes threatened military action as well, but there's been some reporting that he does not want to see a war in the Middle East.
I think that's very clear that the president has made that he does not want to see a war in the Middle East. And I think if Israel were to strike Iran's nuclear facilities or capabilities, not only would that widen the perspective of war or prospect of war, but that also just flies in the face of what this administration is looking to accomplish with Iran, which is this tentative nuclear deal. At this moment, though, of course, Israel is viewing Iran as politically, militarily, and economically weakened. So they're seeing this as a chance to further weaken their capabilities. But again, that's really going to widen the aperture for potential war in the Middle East.
An Israeli source told me, Jamil, that the Israeli position is essentially, if the U.S. were to make a deal that's a bad deal in their eyes, that just gives up too much and allows Iran to maintain too much of a nuclear program from the Israeli objective, then they might very well strike. Is that Israel's concern here, that Trump may so want a deal that he would basically resurrect, remember JCPOA?
Well, this is exactly the problem, right?
Yeah.
I think the problem is that you saw Steve Witkoff in the Middle East a few weeks ago talking about allowing Iran to have 3.67% enriched uranium. That's a huge problem that looks a lot like the Obama nuclear deal that Trump got rid of. And Israel was completely opposed to a deal that looks like that. They don't want that. So now you see Witkoff back in the Middle East. You see the president also saying no enrichment, right? Something Marco Rubio had said a few weeks back and had been in contrast to the rest of the administration. So we'll see what happens. But you got the supreme leader saying we're not doing a deal without enrichment. So now you've got the two countries at odds. Israel might be actually using this opportunity to message the U.S., don't do a bad deal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it could. I mean, there's always an element of signaling in all this. But let's game this out. If Israel were to go ahead and strike, how would Iran be likely to respond?
I mean, they are severely weakened militarily, and not only Iran, but their proxy groups. I mean, Hezbollah in the north has basically been decimated by the Israeli military. Of course, Hamas has been completely, I would say destroyed, even though, Israel continues to conduct operations against Hamas leadership. And then their proxy groups are significantly weakened in Syria and Iraq. And you're also seeing the Houthis also pulling back their capabilities. So Iran, on its world stage is not the same power that it was before October 7th. And I think Israel sees that and is trying to take advantage of that. But I think certainly that flies in the face of what the Trump administration is trying to accomplish.
Well, would the U.S. be in danger if Israel were to strike, in danger of retaliation? Could we assume that Iran would calculate whether the U.S. was directly involved or not, that indeed the U.S. was involved or gave some sort of green or yellow light to this operation?
I think that's exactly right. I think you'd see terrorist attacks around the globe. Iran would activate its networks, weakened though they are, around the globe, including the United States. We know that Iran has tried to undertake actual murder attacks in the United States against U.S. officials and the like, against Saudi officials. So we know they think they're trying to establish a capacity here. Whether they'll be successful or not is a different question, but they certainly will try to lash out. The biggest challenge for Israel, though, is how much of the Iran nuclear program can you actually get to? They don't have the U.S. massive ordnance penetrator, a 30,000-pound bomb. We're not likely to give it to them, or the B-2 Spirit that would deliver it. And so they're going to have to undertake, probably some commando missions along with bombing strikes and a huge variety of attacks in order to really do damage. And even that is only a few years of stalling, right? And so that's, I think, the hardest part for Israel is if you take it out, how much can you get of it? They might still do it. I mean, they've taken out the air defenses. They've taken out the Syria's air defenses. But it's a stalling game at the end of the day for them.
And they've carried out quite aggressive operations, for instance, inside Syria, right, including a ground element. Jamil, Sabrina, thanks so much to both of you.